Do you remember spending summers at your grandparents' house? A place of safety, nostalgia, and warm memories. You run around in the garden, feeling completely protected from the world. But what if that safety is just an illusion? What if something impossibly tall is watching you from over the high hedges, making a sound that will freeze your blood? Tickets, please. Welcome back to Tokyo Midnight Mysteries, your one-way trip into Japan's darkest secrets and most chilling urban legends. I am your conductor for tonight's nightmare. Today, we are opening the file on Hachishakusama, which translates to the 8-feet-tall woman. This is a terrifying Japanese internet legend about an impossible entity that specifically targets and steals the lives of young people. We will trace the exact timeline of a teenage boy who accidentally caught her attention during a seemingly innocent summer vacation. By the end of this broadcast, stay with me until the very end and listen closely, because once she finds you, running away might not be enough. First, let's look at the moment when ordinary life shattered. Our story begins in the summer of 2008. A teenage boy traveled from the city to visit his grandparents in a remote. It was a typical peaceful afternoon. He was relaxing on the porch, enjoying the gentle summer breeze and the sound of cicadas. Suddenly, the cicadas stopped crying. An unnatural silence fell over the garden. Then he heard a strange, deep, mechanical sound echoing in the air. Po! He looked around to find the source of the noise. That's when he noticed something above the tall hedge that surrounded the garden. The hedge was over 2 meters tall, about 6.5 feet. Yet he could clearly see a woman's head and shoulders moving along the other side. She was wearing a wide-brimmed white hat and a white summer dress. She stopped, turned her head, and looked directly at him. The sound was coming from her. Po! After a few moments, she simply walked away, disappearing behind the trees. He didn't feel immediate terror, just profound confusion. How could a woman be taller than a 2-meter hedge? Next, we explore the terrifying realization of what he had just seen. He went inside and casually mentioned the incredibly tall woman and the strange sound to his grandparents. The moment he said Po, his grandparents froze. His grandfather's face turned completely pale, and his grandmother collapsed to the floor, trembling. His grandfather aggressively grabbed him and demanded to know exactly when and where he saw her. After the boy explained, his grandfather immediately rushed to the phone, making frantic calls with a shaking hand. He was calling a local Shinto priestess, a woman known as Kei-san. His grandfather finally explained the grim reality to the boy. He had been targeted by Hachishakusama, an ancient, malevolent entity sealed within the region. She appears as an impossibly tall woman in white, making that signature po-po-po sound. She is known to charm and abduct young people. And the most horrifying part, if you are captivated by her, if she locks her eyes on you, you are destined to die within a few days. There was no time to panic. They had to prepare for the night, because she would inevitably come for him. Now, I need you to listen to me very, very carefully. Are you still there? Good, because surviving Hachishakusama is not about running. It's about enduring absolute psychological torture in a confined space. The priestess, Kei-san, arrived and instructed them to prepare a specific room on the second floor. They covered the windows with newspaper, placed purification salt in the four corners, and locked the boy inside. He was holding a protective charm. His instructions were clear. Under no circumstances are you to open this door until 7 a.m. tomorrow. No matter what happens, no matter who calls for you, do not open the door. As the night deepened, the true horror of Hachishakusama began. The boy sat alone in the dim room, watching a small TV to distract himself. Around 1 a.m., the atmosphere in the room suddenly grew heavy and cold. Then a tapping sound came from the window. Tap, tap, tap. Someone or something was tapping on the second floor window. He tried to ignore it, gripping his protective charm tightly. Then he heard a voice from the hallway outside his locked door. It was his grandfather's voice. "Are you okay in there? You must be scared. It's all right now, you can open the door." Relief washed over him. He stood up, walking toward the door, reaching for the lock. But just as his hand touched the metal, he looked down at the bowls of purification salt in the corners of the room. The pure white salt had turned completely pitch black. A cold sweat broke out across his body. He backed away from the door. Then the voice outside changed. The comforting tone of his grandfather vanished, replaced by that deep, mechanical, bone-chilling sound. She was standing right outside his door. She had perfectly mimicked his grandfather's voice to trick him. For the rest of the night, the tapping on the window and that horrifying sound continued without a single break. He sat in the center of the black salt, crying and praying for the sun to rise. Let's move to the final, desperate attempt to escape. Finally, morning came. At exactly 7 a.m., the real grandfather and Kei-san opened the door. The boy was exhausted but alive. However, he was not safe yet. He had to leave the village immediately, but Hachishakusama would be waiting outside. They gathered several strong men from the extended family. They placed the boy in the middle seat of a large, dark van, surrounded by these men. Kei-san gave him one final strict instruction: keep your eyes closed and look down. Do not look out the window, no matter what you hear. The van started driving down the mountain road. For a while it was quiet, but then one of the men in the van shouted in panic. The boy, terrified, tightly closed his eyes, but he couldn't block out the sound. From right outside the speeding van's window, the sound returned. She was keeping pace with the vehicle. Something tapped violently against the glass, right next to the boy's head. The men in the van were chanting prayers, telling the driver to go faster. The terrifying pursuit lasted for several minutes, feeling like an eternity. Finally, as they crossed the village boundary, the tapping stopped. The sound faded away. The boy had successfully escaped her territory. I asked you at the beginning of this broadcast what you would do if you heard a strange sound from over a tall hedge. The answer is simple: run immediately and never look back. The boy survived because he followed the rules, but his life was forever changed. He could never return to his grandparents' house, never visit that village again. There is a chilling rumor circulating on the Japanese internet today. The protective wards that kept Hachishakusama confined to that specific region have allegedly been broken. Some say she is no longer trapped. She could be wandering anywhere in Japan, perhaps even standing outside your window tonight. Next time on Tokyo Midnight Mysteries, we will explore the forbidden file of Inunaki Village, a place where the laws of Japan no longer apply. If you want to survive the dark side of Japan and hear more of these files, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and hit the bell icon. Your support keeps this pirate radio broadcasting. Until next time, keep your doors locked and never trust a familiar voice in the dark.